Okay, so let's start with question forms. But first, before starting to learn question forms, okay, the different questions that we have in English, I want to show you this. Remember that in sentences, we have a subject and an object, okay? I want you to tell me what is a subject and what is an object with your own words. How do you understand this? What is the meaning of subject and object? Any ideas? With your own words. No? For example, here in a sentence, we have Lucy works in a bank. Here we have a subject and an object. Natalia?
The subject is Lucy, and the object is works.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, it's correct. The subject is Lucy, but the object is not
The
works, right? Works
is
is the verb, right? Any other ideas? What could be the subject and what could be the object? Here I have two participants. Let's see. Andrea.
teacher. The object is bank.
Bank, right? Very good. Yes, the object is bank. So we have a subject and an object. So how can we define subject and object? We know now that Lucy is the subject and bank is the object, right? In a bank is the object. So how can we define this? What is a subject in a sentence? What is a subject? Anybody? What is a subject? In this situation, Lucy is the subject. But what is? How can you define this? ¿Cómo podríamos definirlo? What is a subject? Any ideas? No?
Teacher,
Yes?
because it is talk about her is the subject. I don't know.
Okay, could be. Camila, do you have any ideas?
The subject is like the person who do something or who do the action.
Very good. The person, the thing, who does the action. Very good. Any other? What about the object? What is the object? So we know that the subject is the person or thing that performs the action. The person or thing who does the action. Okay, very good. What about the object? Any ideas? What could be the object? Oscar?
Object is in a bank.
Okay, very good. But how can you define this? ¿Cómo podríamos definirlo? No?
This is one place.
A place?
And you and she work.
Where she works? Could be. Very good. So the object is the person or thing that receives the action. Okay, for example, in this situation, you said that Lucy was the subject, the person who performs the action. Okay, and in a bank is the object. Okay, the object who receives the action. Okay, so this is the difference between the subject and object. And today we are going to focus our attention on that, subject and object. Okay, pay attention. In English, we have different kind of questions. Okay, and we are related to this. It says, these questions are related to the subject and object. Here we have the object question. The object question is the question that we normally ask in English, the ones that you know how to ask. And then we have the subject question. So we have these two kind of questions in English. Okay, so for example, in this the same picture that we have, it says, where does Lucy work? She works in a bank. Okay, as you can see, this is a common question, the normal question that we know how to ask. Okay, and in these kind of questions, in object questions, we are asking about the object of the sentence. Okay, and in the subject question, who works in a bank? Lucy works in a bank. In the subject question, we are asking about the subject of the question. We want to know who is the subject of this sentence. And in this one, we want to know who or what is the object. Okay, this is the difference between subject and object question. Here we have the definition of these two. We want to know about the receiver of the action. And in these kind of questions, we want to know, or we want to ask about the subject. We don't know who performed the action. Okay, so this is the difference between these two questions. We normally ask these kind of questions, okay, but today we're going to learn to ask these kind of questions too. Another characteristics of these two questions is the structure. The structure of these questions are different. Let's check. Here we have the same example. As you can see, we are asking for the receiver of the action. And in this question, we are asking for the person who performed the action or who performs the action. Okay? So the other difference between these two questions is the structure. Okay? So I'm going to show you an example. And I want you to tell me what is the structure of this question. Number one, it says, what do you want to drink? What do you want to drink? We want some fruit juice. In the second one, who wants some fruit juice? We want some fruit juice. Okay, so what do you think is the structure of this question here? What do we have first? What is this?
Question word.
Question word, yes, very good. What about this one? What is this?
Auxiliary.
Auxiliary verb, right? It's the auxiliary verb. What about this one? What is this?
Subject.
It's a subject, right? This one?
Verb.
The main verb, right? The main verb, el verbo principal de nuestra oración. Okay, and then we have the rest of the sentence or the complement of the question. Okay, and in this one, what is this?
Question word.
The question word. Yes, this one.
Main word.
The main verb. Very good. And the complement or the rest of the question. Okay, so what is the difference in the structure between these two questions? What is the difference?
Structure have to.
Avila?
Structure have the auxiliary verb.
Yes, in the object questions, we need an auxiliary verb, and in the subject questions, we don't need auxiliary verbs. Very good. Any other difference? Any other difference between these two structures?
In subject structure, we can use some or not any.
In both of them, we can use some or any. Okay. Any other?
In the question, we don't have a subject.
Yes, in the subject question, we don't have a subject. We are looking for the subject. We want to know who is the subject. So we don't have a subject in the question. So yes, these are the two main differences. Okay, so we have question word, auxiliary verb, subject, and the main verb, and of course the rest of the question. In this situation, we have the question word who or what, and we have the verb. Could be in the simple present or in the past simple, okay, in any tense. And then we have the object or the rest of the question. Okay, so this is the difference. We don't need an auxiliary verb in subject questions, and we don't need a subject, okay, because we are looking for the subject. We want to know who is the subject who performed the action, okay? So these are the two differences between these two questions, okay? So remember that when we ask object questions, we want to know the receiver of the action. For example, in this situation, in a bank, okay? And when we ask subject questions, we want to know the person who performed the action, okay? And the other difference is the structure, okay? So these are the two kind of questions that we are going to use today in the lesson, okay? But also, we have other kind of questions. Let me check. Here we have two groups of questions. I want you to tell me which of them do you think are correct and which of them do you think are incorrect. Okay, let's read the questions. Who are you waiting? With who are they? Who with did you sit at the meeting? Who are you waiting for? Who are they with? Who did you sit with at the meeting? Which group of questions do you think is correct and which of them incorrect and why? What do you think? Which of them do you think are correct? ¿Cuál les parece más correcto? Any ideas?
The second, teacher.
The second, okay. Why? Why the second?
The second because the sentence is very natural, or no?
Okay, could be. Any other ideas?
They had a structure, correct structure.
They have a correct structure. How do you notice this? What makes you realize of this? Any other ideas? ¿Cómo pueden notar cuál es la correcta y por qué? You say that this group is the correct. Okay, but why? How do you notice that? How do you know that? No? Okay, because here we have, what are these? How do we call this? How do we call for, with? What are these words? Any ideas?
This is connection.
Connectors?
Connectors, yes.
No, not exactly. Any other ideas? For and with. What is this? These are prepositions, right? For and with are prepositions. So the idea in this part of the lesson is that we are going to learn how to use prepositions in a question. Okay? Let's see. Questions with prepositions. When the main verb needs a preposition in a question, we normally put the preposition at the end of the question. Okay, so as you can see, the preposition normally goes at the end, as you can see. Okay, So let's see the other example. In the other example, we don't have the prepositions at the end, right? So the questions are not correct. We are going to check some prepositions that we are going to use during the lesson. Let's see. These are some prepositions that you can use in your question. Look for, talk to, wait for, come from, and think about. Okay, these are some of the prepositions that we are going to use during this lesson. I want you to think in a question using prepositions. You know that now the prepositions, you have to write them or say them at the end. Okay, so I want you to choose one of the questions, one of the prepositions that we have here, and I want you to tell me a question using any of them. Okay, think about your question. Okay, any ideas? Any questions that you can ask with these prepositions? We had some of them in the exercises. I don't know if you remember.
What are you thinking about, teacher?
Yes, what are you thinking about? Right? Very good. What are you thinking about? Very good. Any other ideas?
Who do you looking for?
Who are you looking for? Very good. Who are you looking for? Very good. Any other ideas?
Where are you from?
Where?
Where are you from?
Maybe what you can say, where do you come from? Where do you
Yeah.
come from? Right? Very good.
Yes.
Okay. Here we have one with waiting for. Who are you waiting for? Okay. Very good. Who are you talking to? Right? So we can use the prepositions at the end of the questions. So here in your book, in the exercise, let's go back to the book. You have two structures, and you have to tell me, it says, look at the questions in exercise 3, the questions 1 to 5. How do we form most questions? And choose the structure, A or B. Okay, so here we have the questions in exercise number 3. Which of the structures do we use? The first one, A or B? As you can see in the structures, here we have question words, auxiliary verb, subject, and main verb. And in the option B, we have question word and the main verb. Which of these structures are we using here in the questions? What do you think? Which of them, A or B?
A structure, teacher.
We are using the first structure, right? Here we have the question word, how, what, when, and how. This one is different, right? And then we have here the auxiliary verb. Here we have how often, the auxiliary verb, do, did, and can. Then we have the subject, people, you, and you. And the verb, tell, lie. In this situation, we don't have a verb. And here, tell. And here we have know, right? So in most of the questions, we use the first structure, right? A. Very good. So let's continue with the next part, the next page. it says, in the prepositions, is the preposition before the question word or after the main verb? So we are going to check again these questions, and you have to look for the prepositions here. What are the prepositions in these questions? Can you find any prepositions? Any preposition? Do we have any here?
About,
About.
maybe, teacher?
About, very good. So, about is after the main verb or before the auxiliary verb? What do you think?
After the main verb.
After the main verb, right? Very good. So remember, the preposition goes after the main verb. Very good. So let's move to the next part. It says, listen to people telling a lie in 3 conversations. What is each person lying about? Write the connect conversation number 1, 2, 3. So here we have 3 topics: receiving text messages, eating chocolate, and liking someone's food. So you have to pay attention to the listening, and you have to tell me which of these topics they are talking about or they are lying about. Okay, pay attention.
Conversation 1.
Who ate all of my chocolate?
I don't know.
So why do you have chocolate on your face?
Conversation 2. What happened to you last night? I texted you 5 times.
Really? I didn't get any messages.
That's strange.
My battery was dead.
Conversation 3.
Who wants more banana and potato sandwiches?
No thanks. They're delicious, but I'm feeling a bit full.
Okay, so what do you think? Conversation number 1. Which of the topics did they talk about in conversation number 1?
2.
Again, please. Which of the topics?
Eating chocolate.
Eating chocolate, right? Very good. Number 2, topic number 2.
Receiving text message.
Receiving text messages, very good. And of course, this is number 3, right? We are going to pay attention to the questions, and I want you to try to write them here, okay? Number 1, who, do you remember the question here in number 1? Who all of my chocolate? Do you remember the question here? Who all of my chocolate?
Who ate all of my chocolate?
Who ate all of my chocolate? Very good. Number 2, what to you last night? No? Number 3, who more banana and potato sandwiches?
Want?
Who wants?
Okay, who want? Like this?
Wants.
Wants. Okay. Okay, let's listen to the audio again. We are going to check our questions and we are going to complete this one, number 2, okay? Pay attention.
Conversation 1.
Who ate all of my chocolate?
I don't know.
So why do you have chocolate on your face?
Conversation 2. What happened to you last night? I texted you 5 times.
Really? I didn't get any messages.
That's strange.
My battery was dead.
Conversation 3.
Who wants more banana and potato sandwiches? Mmm.
No thanks. They're delicious, but I'm feeling a bit full.
Okay. So, what do you think here? Number 2. What? Again, please. What
happened?
happened? What happened to you last night? Right? Very good. So, let's see here the next exercise. It says, look at the questions in exercise 5B and choose the correct options to complete the sentences. Then read the grammar box about the different question forms, okay? Number 1, it says, in these questions, we know or we don't know the subject of the verb. What do you think? In these questions, we know or we don't know the subject of the verb.
We don't know.
We don't know, right? Very good. We don't know. What about the second question? It says, we use the infinitive or question form of the verb. What do you think? Infinitive or question form of the verb? Any ideas? So it says, sorry, affirmative. We use the affirmative or question form of the verb. What do you think?
Question, teacher.
Question? But all these
Yes.
verbs are affirmative. All these verbs are affirmative, right? Ate is affirmative. We have happened, affirmative, and once. So we use affirmative verbs when we are asking this kind of question. Are these kind of questions object questions or subject questions? What do you think? Object questions or subject?
Subject questions.
Subject questions, because we don't know the subject and we want to know the subject of the sentence, right? Very good. The subject of the verb. Here we have some other examples of object questions and subject questions. And number 1, it says, where do you work? Okay. What are you doing right now? Where did you go to college? Have you finished? Okay, as you can see in all these questions, we have auxiliary verbs. Okay, number 1, do, are, did, and have. These are auxiliary verbs. And in the subject questions, we don't have auxiliary verbs and we don't have a subject, right? Who called me? Okay, for example, we don't use an auxiliary verb, as you can see. We don't use auxiliary verbs. We don't use does, we don't use did. Directamente utilizamos el verbo, ¿cierto? Who called me? Who wants coffee? And who invented the telephone? ¿Ok? Algo que quiero que tengan muy en claro es que generalmente cuando nosotros estamos haciendo nuestras preguntas en presente simple, generalmente el verbo va como para la tercera persona. ¿Ok? Who wants, who sings this song, who wrote, well, this is in the past. ¿Ok? Generalmente el verbo como para la tercera persona si es que estamos preguntando en presente simple. ¿Ok? And here we have the questions with prepositions. ¿Ok? Here we have, where do they come from? And do you play tennis? Who do you play tennis with? Okay, as you can see, the prepositions go at the end of the question. Okay, any doubts until here? Anything that maybe you couldn't understand or maybe doubts? Any doubts that you have? Okay, so let's practice a little bit Go to the page 113. And here we have some exercises to practice the question forms. Okay? So, number 1, put the words in the correct order to make questions. So you have to order the questions here. Okay? I'm going to give you a minute so you can complete this, and then we are going to check. Okay, let's check. And number 1, please, we are going to start with Jezarel. Please, number 1, how did you write this sentence, this question?
Does your friend work near here?
Very good. Does your friend work near here? Very good. Number 2, please, Sebastián. Ávila.
Okay, teacher. Do you going like to concerts?
One more time. Do you
going like to concert?
Okay. So tell me, Sebastián, do you remember that I told you before that when we have a verb with the ing, we need to start the question with the verb to be, right? Because it's present continuous. But when we have the auxiliary verb do, the main verb needs to go in the base form. Okay, so how can you change this question, Sebastián? If we are using do as auxiliary verb, the main verb needs to go in the base form, right?
Do you go like to concert?
¿Qué significa su pregunta, Sebastián? Do you go like to concerts? ¿Qué significa en español?
Si me gusta ir a conciertos, algo así.
Okay, si me gusta ir a conciertos. Entonces, si usted está preguntando, ¿te gusta ir a conciertos? Do you like going to concerts?
Okay.
Okay, this is the correct question. Why do you think, guys, we have a verb with the ing form here? Why? Why do we have a verb with the ing form? Any ideas? No? Okay, generally when we have two verbs together in a question or in a sentence, we can say like go. Two verbs in the base form, never. Okay, so what do? We need to change the second verb. We need to change the second verb and we need to write it in the ing form or in the infinitive form with to. Okay, but never like go. Okay, the same with the other verbs. I have listened a lot. I like play soccer. We don't say I like play soccer. We say I like playing soccer. I like listen to music. No, we don't say I like listen to music. I like listening to music or I like to listen to music. Okay? So remember, when we have two verbs together in a sentence or in a question, the second verb goes with the ing form or with the infinitive form according to the verb. Okay? Hay algunos verbos a los que no se le puede poner to plus infinitive. For example, enjoy. Ok, este verbo no podríamos poner enjoy to go. Ok, siempre este verbo va con ing. Después de este verbo, I enjoy going to the park, for example. Ok, so be careful with these kind of verbs. Ok, very good. What about sentence number or question number 3, please, Oscar?
Teacher, I don't understand this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I want you to help. I want you to help me. We are going to do it together. Okay. Remember, what do we put at the beginning of the questions, Oscar?
I think that this sentence is do was do running and that was do she running why and why.
Okay. You don't have to add any words. No tiene que añadir ninguna palabra y no tiene que cambiar ninguna palabra. Okay. Solamente tiene que ordenarla. Por ejemplo, aquí dice en la orden, dice put the words in the correct order to make questions. Okay. No tenemos que añadir absolutamente nada. Which of these words do you think goes first in the question? Which of them?
Okay. The sentence says she was running why.
It's a question. Okay. Es una pregunta. ¿Cuál de estas palabras usted cree que va primero en la pregunta?
Why?
Why? Very good. WH question words. These words always go at the beginning in a question, right? Why?
Okay.
Then after the WH question word,
Why was running she?
what was? What is this? Was.
Was is verb to past in
No,
past.
it's the auxiliary verb,
Okay,
right?
okay.
The
Verb.
auxiliary verb. After the auxiliary verb, what do we need, Oscar?
Verb
Mm,
or were running.
eh,
Oh, she running.
She, right? The subject of the question. Okay? And after the subject, the main verb, el verbo principal. So, why was she running? ¿Por qué estaba corriendo? ¿Por qué ella estaba corriendo? Recuerde, siempre WH question word, auxiliary verb, subject, and the main verb. Okay? This is the order that we need to follow in a question.
Okay,
Very good.
teacher.
Thank you. Let's go with Karen, please. Number 4.
Can I tell you a secret?
Very good. Can I tell you a secret? Very good. And number 5, please, Fernando.
Which do you country come from?
Okay. So the first word is WH question word, right? Which?
Yeah.
The second?
Oh. Which country do you come from? Yeah.
Very good. Which country do you come from? In this situation, our WH question word is which country, right? Very good. Let's go to the next one, please. Camila, number 6.
Could you speak more slowly?
Could you speak more slowly? Very good. The next one, please, Karin.
Who did you see at the party?
Very good. Who did you see at the party? Very good. The next one, please, Monica.
Which movie theater did you go to?
Very good. Which movie theater? Very good. And the last one, please, Alvarez. Oh, no, we have another one. Number 9, please, Alvarez.
Who was she looking for?
Number 9, please.
Where does he come from?
Very good. Where does he come from? And number 10, please, Andrea. Andrea Fernanda.
Who was
Again, please.
for she looking?
Who was the subject is
Looking
subject,
for
subject. ¿Cuál es el sujeto de esta pregunta, Andrea? Again, please.
she,
She, verb, the main verb, looking, and the preposition, remember the preposition goes at the end, okay?
okay.
For. Who was she looking for? Okay, very good. Any questions about this exercise? Anything that you would like to check? Okay, let's go to the next one. We are going to do the next one together. Exercise number 3, okay? Let's do it together. It says, write questions for the underlined answers. Okay, as you can see, here we have the underlined answers, and we need to write questions to know this. Okay, number 1, it says, I spoke to Jessica in the park. What can we ask here? ¿Cuál sería nuestra pregunta si nuestra respuesta es Jessica? What could be the question here? Any ideas?
Maybe who did you
Who did you
speak in the park?
speak to? Don't forget to is a preposition. Speak. Speak to in the park. Who did you speak to in the park? ¿Con quién hablaste en el parque? I spoke to Jessica in the park. Very good. Number 2. He gave Mike a book. A book. We need to ask for a book. Any ideas? A book. So what WH question word we need to use for a book?
What?
What? Very good. What? The auxiliary verb. What is the auxiliary verb that we need to use? Again, please.
What is?
Okay, but the verb here is in the past, right? So what is the auxiliary verb for the past, the simple past?
Did.
Did. Very good. What did the subject?
He
Verb?
give.
Give. Anything else?
Give Mike.
Mike.
What did he?
Very good. What did he give Mike? He gave Mike a book. Very good. So you need to pay attention to the verb because the verb tells you what auxiliary verb you need to use, okay? What about number 3? It says, Carlo and Mira went to the party. So we need a question to know this answer. Carlo and Mira. Is this
Who?
again, please?
Who went to the party?
Who went to the party? Very good. Who went to the party? Carlo and Mira went to the party. Who went to the party? Carlo and Mira went to the party. Number 4. We arrived at 4 p.m. What about this one? At 4 p.m. Again?
When you arrive,
When? Auxiliary verb?
you
Auxiliary verb?
when did
Did
you arrive?
you arrive? Okay, remember, if the answer is in the simple past, the question needs to go in the simple past too, okay? What about number 5? The twins drank all the orange juice. What is the question here? We need to know the twins.
Who drank all the orange juice?
Very good. Who drank all the orange juice? Very good. What about the next one? Number 6. She was watching a horror movie. What is the WH question that we need to ask for a horror movie?
What?
What? What? ¿Qué podremos decir? What?
What was she watching?
Very good. Was she watching? What was she watching? She was watching a horror movie. I am waiting for Tony. What is the question here? Tony.
Who are you waiting for?
Very good. Who are you waiting for? Who are you waiting for? Very good. The last one, Jen works in that building. So?
Where does Jane work?
Okay, but in this, we don't have underline in that building. We have underline Jen, right? Está subrayado Jen,
Who
no
works in
in
that building?
Very good. Who works in that building? Very good. Who works in that building? Okay, which of them are subject questions? Which of them are subject questions? Number
1.
Number 1 is subject question.
No. 2.
Number 2 is subject question.
Yes, 1.
3.
Number 3 is a subject question, right? Because we want to know about the subject. Any other question?
Number 5 and number 8.
Number 5. Very good, because we want to know about the subject. Very good. And number 8. Number 8, we want to know about the subject. As you can see in number 1, we don't want to know about the subject. Okay, we want to know about the object. Remember, the object of a sentence can be a person or a thing or a place. ¿Ok? No significa que porque aquí sea una persona, sea una subject question. No queremos saber acerca del sujeto, sino en esta pregunta nosotros queremos saber acerca del objeto de la oración. ¿Cierto? ¿Y cómo nos damos cuenta de que es una object question también? Porque tenemos auxiliary verbs. ¿Ok? Todas las object questions tienen auxiliary verbs. Y también tienen un sujeto. Aquí tenemos you, aquí tenemos he, you, she, aquí tenemos you. Todas estas son object questions. Tienen auxiliary verb y también tienen un sujeto. Y están preguntando sobre el objeto de la oración, no sobre el sujeto. En cambio, en la oración número 3, 5 y 8, en estas no tenemos auxiliary verbs, no tenemos sujetos y estamos preguntando sobre el sujeto de la oración. Queremos saber quiénes hicieron esto. ¿Ok? Ok, very good. Let's go to the book. Let's go back to page 9. Okay?